It is 6:09 in the heart of the Texas Hill Country, and you're listening to Eat, Play, Live with me, Andi P, the show that's chasing dreams and crushing goals. And my goal here is to help you live a healthier, happier, more balanced life. So, as we prepare for that big Halloween weekend that's coming up, do you have a costume yet? Most people do not decide on their costume until the very last minute. And if you're like me, that comes as no surprise because, yeah, that's what we do. Although I have mine. Mine is ready. So you'll just have to wait and see what that's going to be. If you're in the area, you should probably come out to Lealoo and check us out because it's going to be a pretty epic weekend here in Mason. We've got like the art walk going on and trick or treating. I know Sandstone is doing a big fundraiser for the courthouse, and you can get a bag, and it's just a brown bag. You don't know what's in it, except that it's wine, but you don't know what kind. So for a donation, they'll let you trick or treat a bag of wine with proceeds going to the courthouse. So just a lot of cool stuff coming up. But as I was thinking about the big Halloween weekend and people getting their costumes ready and deciding what to wear, it just made me think about masks. We all wear masks, not just at Halloween, but every day. You know what I'm talking about? So let's take a peek tonight behind that mask and see what's really going on underneath that. I mean, chances are you may have worn a mask for so much of your life that you don't even remember who's underneath. So, when you think about it, back in the day before social media took over our lives, people still wore masks, but it was really only people they were in direct contact with that they ever probably had to feel like they had to put up a front, right? Because who else was even involved in their lives? Who else was even, I guess you can put up a mask when you're writing a letter, but that's a little trickier to do. But nowadays, we have this image to uphold in everything we do, and we're touching hundreds of people all the time. You put something on Facebook and hundreds of people potentially are going to see that. And so what is that going to say about you? Are you posting things that really share your heart and your beliefs and your life, or is it the mask? So it's exhausting when you think about it, the lengths that we kind of go to, because, and some of it, I'm not saying it's all bad or that people are trying to be fake or anything like that, but what do you put out there and what do you not? What is personal information that not everybody needs to see and hear about? And, we like to put the highlights, but not only put the highlights to the point where it looks like we're trying to present a false happy, you know what I'm saying? Like it's tricky. It's tricky to know what all we let the world see. How much do we want to reveal behind that mask? So, we do that, but at the same time, we want to be authentically known. It's a craving of our soul to be authentically known. So if we're putting up too much of a front, then how are we ever going to be known? My dear, it's up to you. Are you ready to own it? To own your own unique, one-of-a-kind you? Are you ready to say, here I am, world, take me or leave me. I'm just putting it out there. I'm going to be me, and I don't care what you think. Well, that can be really scary. It really can. But if you want to live healthier, happier, and more balanced, then that's exactly what you're going to have to do. You got to get vulnerable. It's only when we're vulnerable that others can truly connect with us. You can't connect with a mask. Let's take a look at food. right? How can food be a mask? That doesn't seem like it makes sense, but we certainly use food to mask a lot of feelings, don't we? Think about comfort food. What's that doing? That's masking something that we don't want to deal with. Alcohol? Yeah. Sugar rush? I'm having a hard day. I just need a candy bar to help me deal with this. Okay. So we're using food to help us mask our feelings, our anxiety, whatever is going on. And then the way we use food can, of course, have a direct effect on how our bodies look. So then we can use our bodies to mask things. There's a saying, abs are made in the kitchen. Well, what does that mean? That means you can do 1,000,000 sit-ups, but if you're covering that belly in layers of fat, then those abdominal muscles are not going to show. So you really have to make your abs by what you eat. Otherwise, they're wearing a mask and nobody knows the hard work that you're putting in because you've got it all covered up. So I realized after shedding more than 50 pounds that I had been using fat as a mask. I'd been hiding my true self because that girl scared me. She was capable of great things that I didn't think I had the strength to handle. And of course, I didn't realize this at the time, but looking back, it became very apparent that I had used that as a mask because as the fat girl, nobody really expected much. Nobody flirted, nobody noticed. So I could eat and drink myself into this comfortable, cushy place. Comfortably broken, but hidden. And fat isn't the only mask that we use to hide, the only body mask, let's call it. I've seen bodybuilders that use layers of muscle to hide their insecurities. I've seen super duper fit girls that are actually hiding their fears by showing their bodies. If you're using it to gain some sort of acceptance, whether you're using your body in good ways or not good ways, you're using it as a mask. Even the labels that we choose in regards to food can be some sort of a mask, like a vegan, for instance. Well, that brings up kind of a stereotype, right? If somebody says they're vegan, and stereotypes make it really easy for individuals to stay hidden. So, being a vegan is fine. Working out is fine. Looking a certain way is fine. None of these things are bad in themselves. But if we want to be authentic, then we have to ask ourselves, why? Why are we doing what we do? Are we pursuing something we care about to improve our health and our happiness? Or are we hiding? If you do realize you've been hiding, well, it's time to say, come out and play, right? Eat, play, live. That's what we want to do. So imagine, let's go back to Halloween right now, and imagine that you've had a literal mask covering your face for hours. One of those kids' masks that we would get at I guess like at Walmart or some kind of store like that, where you get the little cheapy plastic. I'm picturing Casper the Ghost. I must have had a Casper the Ghost mask at some point, but they have just tiny little holes for eyes, tiny little holes for your nostrils, and a tiny little hole for your mouth. And they never line up perfectly. So anyway, imagine that you've been wearing one of those awful masks for hours and hours and feel the way it feels. Feel the hot air that's caught beneath it. Then imagine yourself slowly removing that mask and turning your face toward the sun. Your eyes are closed. You feel the breeze and the sunlight mix together on your face. Doesn't that feel amazing? Imagine how it would feel to remove the mask that you've been using to hide behind. It may have been there for years. Imagine how good that would feel. And that's what happens when you play, when you find something that you love to do and just do it. No apologies, no hiding, seeking joy for the sake of joy. You know, most of the time I equate playing with exercising. And for me, that tends to be my form of play, especially when I compare it with travel, running, swimming, riding my bike, somewhere else where I can discover the world around me. To me, that's awesome playtime. And that's what's been helping me remove my mask. Because when I'm doing that, I just don't care what other people think. So what does it for you? Think about that. You know, maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's something you do with your close friends or your family. Maybe it's when you have a little me time. What's your go-to thing that you crave, that you want to do, that brings you joy? You know, maybe it's fishing, quilting, cooking, maybe working in your garden. There are a million things. So how do you know? How do you know what your thing is that's gonna open you up and make you willing to let go of hiding behind that mask? Perhaps think back to what you loved to do as a child before anyone or anything told you you couldn't do it. Perhaps in finding what you love, you can reveal yourself, even return to yourself. I found this quote that I thought was kind of cool because, you know, you hear people talk about finding themselves. Well, here's the quote. Finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's coat pocket. You are also not lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself, an unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you. Interesting. So we're not finding ourselves, you know? How many people say that they're working to find themselves when they aren't even lost? So I love this idea of returning to yourself. Think about children, watch children and the way they unapologetically explore and test limits and fall down and get right back up again. They don't care. They don't care who saw them fall down. They just keep going, you know? And so putting this together and thinking about children, thinking about my own childhood, I started wandering down memory lane because if you know me at all, you know that squirrel does not take a lot to get me wandering somewhere. But I was imagining and remembering loading my dolls on a sled because I lived in Montana at the time. We used sleds back then. But I would explore my neighborhood with all my dolls in tow, or climbing trees and hiking the Badlands in Nebraska, or rolling down the sand dunes in New Mexico. So much fun. I used to go skiing from the time I was 4 years old in Wyoming and Colorado. And then I started remembering when I was a kid, I was super bossy. Like, I would tell my friends what to do. I always wanted to be the leader. I would play games, even with my dolls, where I was the teacher. I was always in charge. You know, I loved to be on stage, the center of attention. I know you're shocked, right? But somewhere along the way, I learned to quiet down and step back and just wear a mask. There was always this longing inside, though, and I would call it my rebellious spirit that was just always trying to get out. And no, I don't want to be quiet, and no, I don't want to let other people always tell me what to do. Oh, but that's what I'm supposed to, and if I don't, then they're going to be mad. And I learned to put on that mask. And perhaps you've seen it. Maybe you have one too. But, you know, I hope that you have something inside of you, like I do, that tells you This is not you. This is not you. This is a mask. This is something you have learned throughout your life to hide the real you behind. So if you want balance in your life, you want to live healthy, live happy, find you. Find out who that is under there. Take off the mask and show the world who you are. Not everybody's going to like it. That's okay. You know, they might not even accept the real you. That's okay. We weren't put here to make everyone happy all the time. Not even on Facebook. It's not our job. You know, maybe even take a break from social media while you work on figuring out, who am I? What do I want? What do I believe? What brings me joy? It's amazing when you start doing that. And people that you haven't even met yet are waiting to know you. So don't worry about the few that can't handle the real you. That's okay. Because people who can, people who will light you up and bring more joy into your life, those people are waiting for the real you to step right out. So explore and discover, eat, play, and live. Those are the things that we've just got to do. I'm Andi P. Thank you for being part of my tribe, being brave with me. Until next Thursday, you've been listening to Eat, Play, Live.